Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Tuesday, September 23rd. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast, stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
Please get out and vote for Chris Scott.
That was the Premier campaigning with Chris Scott and Sault Ste. Marie in February. 7 months later, the rookie MPP finds himself on the outs with the Progressive Conservative Party.
Chris will be no longer sitting with our caucus.
It means Scott will sit as an independent when the legislature reconvenes next month. The 35-year-old removed from the PC caucus after he was criminally charged over the weekend. Chris Scott now faces a charge of assault and assault with a weapon. He's been released on $5,000 bail. A publication ban limits what we can share about the case. Scott is a former advisor to the Premier's office, but Doug Ford said little about the charges.
I was informed literally in the parking lot as we're going through here. And yeah, go to the Sault Ste. Marie police. I don't want to interfere in a police investigation.
Police in the Sault say the arrest was carried out by Toronto police and that they're refraining from sharing more to protect the identity of any victim or victims. Scott created a stir when it was announced he'd carry the PC banner in Sault Ste. Marie, accused of being a parachute candidate. He won the election by a little over 100 votes over the NDP challenger.
Feels incredibly humbling.
Scott went on to be appointed parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Energy and Mines.
Global demand for these critical minerals is only going up.
That title and party designation gone. His office dark. New Democrats say Scott needs to resign immediately.
There's nothing preventing Chris Scott from carrying on as an MPP while he faces these criminal charges. He is due back in court October 22nd. That's 2 days after the legislature reconvenes. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan.
Water bursting out of the ground on Hazeldean Road in Canada, rushing across the pavement and flooding nearby parking lots and residential streets. A ruptured water main behind it all, the water tearing through the asphalt, leaving a massive hole.
Our parking lot looks like a tsunami at this point.
This is what Caitlin Luzio saw when she showed up to work at Jiffy Photo and Print Monday morning.
It just kept getting worse and worse. We were moving boxes to the back of our store. We were moving any electrical stuff up off the floor.
The photo shop itself was spared from flooding, but other nearby businesses weren't as lucky. BMO Bank closed its doors for the day, and Plato's Closet saw water filling the crawl space under the store.
We have someone coming to pump that, but it's pretty dark down there, but there's quite a bit of water.
The water also impacting nearby residents, submerging sidewalks, turning streets into rivers.
It was crazy. There was just water fully across the street, higher at the ends, just rushing down the sidewalk over there,
causing the water pressure of thousands of residents to drop and bringing back memories for those who've seen it before.
It was probably 30 centimeters deep when I went through. We were flooded in 2009, so it was always a concern. My neighbor did get some flooding, and I imagine other people around here got flooding.
City crews shut down part of Hazeldean Road to make repairs, redirecting traffic through a nearby parking lot.
The priority right now is to get the water stopped so that there's no more flooding, and then also make sure that everybody in the street, they all have running water, and make sure that the pressure is coming back up for everybody.
It's unclear what caused the break or how long repairs will take.
There's all kinds of things that can cause that, a surge in pressure, things like that can happen. Age of the pipe, like that pipe behind us, we'll have to look at, but it's probably 40 years old.
And residents are being asked to avoid the area while crews continue to work, and we'll have more information on when the repairs are expected to be complete as it's made available. Patricia?
Big job. All right, CTV's Caitlin Wilson live for us tonight.
Teams of RCMP, including a critical response unit, are at the farm in Edgewood now as part of a convoy of police and CFIA staff who arrived Monday morning.
We're here, our primary role is to keep the peace and to enforce the law if necessary.
The presence of authorities comes as the farm continues its 9-month fight to try and save close to 400 ostriches from being killed by CFIA after an avian flu outbreak here last December.
These guys are big and beautiful. They're prehistoric animals that have survived millions of years, but they're on the chopping block for CFIA.
The bird's plight has attracted plenty of attention across the country and across the border, including the U.S. Secretary for Health, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who wrote in support of the ostriches.
We're just getting an outpouring of love and support. like all these people here, and all we want to do is just see a better way.
Supporters remain outside the farm but have left some neighbors frustrated and worried.
As long as their activities are peaceful, lawful, and safe and do not impede the business of CFIA, they'll be allowed to stay.
Earlier this month, the Federal Court of Appeal judge ordered the cull must proceed, but the farm hopes to challenge that ruling. Police are not saying how long they will remain at the farm, only that they will be there as long as needed. The CFIA did not respond to CTV's request for an interview. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
9:30 Monday morning at Angrignon Metro Station, service is suspended for hours, and that means many people were stuck.
I wanted to go to school because I have an exam today. So yeah, I studied all night for that.
Going to Mount Royal, but now maybe not.
The bus is not passing by until 3 o'clock, and I have class at 11.
Spend money on an Uber or maybe go home by BC, which is going to be about an hour.
Bixie, not so easy. The station here quickly emptied out.
I've paid 2 months for a Metro bus pass, and to know that I paid for almost like not having the services available kind of sucks.
Bad for students and workers. Even worse for those needing to get to a doctor. Many appointments are midday.
More or less 400,000 elders on the island of Montreal. At least half of them use the public transportation. So of course it must affect them in terms of, medical appointment or other important appointment that might have with health professionals.
Patients' rights advocate Paul Brunet notes that the adapted transportation is still being offered, but
right to access healthcare should be a priority in our society and not the right to strike. So it's a battle that's been going on for quite a while now.
In a statement, the union representing the 2,400 maintenance workers says after more than a year of negotiations and 100 bargaining sessions, the STM has had time to reach an agreement. The mayor also says she wants the dispute resolved.
I invite both the STM and the union to sit back and find a solution as fast as possible, having in mind the very difficult financial situation that all the public transit companies are facing in Quebec and even in Canada. It's not easy, and I think at this point, again, they shouldn't be penalizing Montrealers.
The strike will result in service disruptions outside of peak hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And while some riders sympathize with the union, they don't like being caught in the middle.
Because we know the cost of living is high, but they should have negotiated with, the union should have negotiated instead of impacting the public this way.
The strike will result in service disruptions outside of peak hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Oh! It's going to be a very bumpy ride until the two sides work out a deal. Christine Long, CTV News.
It was revealed today at a budget update that Nova Scotia will spend $527.9 million more than budgeted for this year, pushing the projected fiscal shortfall to nearly $1.3 billion, the largest deficit in provincial history.
I can't predict what the end of the year will look like. This is the most accurate and best information we have right now.
The PC government has projected shortfalls in the past only to end the year in surplus. Like last year, where the province ended the fiscal year with a $264.8 million surplus after predicting a $467.4 million deficit. The fiscal swings and record deficit projection is drawing criticism from opposition.
I mean, this government have become masters of what I can only call creative accounting. We never know if a projection is going to swing wildly in one direction or another. But the bottom line is we have the most spending in history, and we don't have a lot to show for it.
Healthcare costs remain the biggest driver of spending. $8.3 billion, or 46% of the budget, goes to healthcare services, where spending is up $411 million already from the February budget.
I think that if you look across the nation, that would be very close to a typical number.
As for trade and tariff tension with the U.S., Laura confirmed none of the $200 million tariff contingency fund has been spent yet.
What we've seen is that 85 to 90% of the products being sold into the United States are CUSMA compliant and not subject to tariffs.
And as for future revenue, Loris said the province is optimistic with new opportunities in developing natural resources like wind energy and critical mineral development. The Liberals say that won't help right now.
That's far into the future. These are developments that will take a decade or more to even develop.
The province is set to return to the legislature for the fall sitting tomorrow. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
It's 2:30 a.m. Saturday, and two young women lift the crossing arm at the tracks on Richmond Street. The message of playing near the tracks is still not getting through, even during Rail Safety Week.
Year after year, there are railway fatalities across this nation, and one death is too many.
Sandra LaRose lost her daughter to a train fatality in 2018. Now she's dedicating her life to make sure it doesn't happen to others.
Our focus is education. Educating Canadians about rail safety is vitally important.
This weekend in Strathroy, the Southern Ontario Live Steamers held a rail safety event.
Recently, we've seen some real disturbing footage, particularly in London at certain crossings. It's very challenging when you see those videos because we know that it doesn't take long for something to go really bad.
They gave rides on their model railroad while offering an educational component.
Everybody that's on this train here that you see today, all those people are learning valuable lessons about how to behave around trains properly. We make sure that they're on the platform behind the yellow line. We make sure that they get off in an orderly fashion. They wait until the train comes to a complete stop. And it's just reinforcing the lessons of being safe around trains.
Officers from Strathroy Caradoc Police, the OPP, and CN Police were also there to explain the consequences of disobeying laws.
And all railway crossing is actually private property, and under the Railway Traffic Act, you can actually be fined. Fines start at a minimum of $500 and goes upwards from there. We're out here today to just make sure that everybody's safe and sound.
It's exactly the message LaRose is trying to promote, especially to young people like the one just a few weeks ago who jumped onto the moving train in London.
If every student who hears me speak can walk across the graduation stage to receive their diploma, have an outstanding career, fall in love and have a family, and live a full life, I know that Kayla and I have had a part.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Bouquets and butterflies adorn the four corners of Guelph's Alma Street and Paisley Road, placed in memory of a 38-year-old mother hit by a pickup truck while walking with her family.
It's tragic and heartbreaking, and so many are deeply affected.
It happened just before 5 o'clock Friday afternoon. Police say the woman, her husband, and their 3-year-old daughter were crossing the street when they were struck by a driver making a turn at the light.
The driver did remain on scene. It was a 19-year-old from Northern Ontario. He did stop immediately after the collision and remained on scene and spoke with officers.
The family was taken to Guelph General Hospital, where the mother died from her injuries. Her husband wasn't seriously injured, and their daughter was airlifted to a Hamilton Trauma Center as a precaution. Both have since been released.
We're not sure exactly how this collision occurred. That'll be part of the investigation.
The incident leaving those who live nearby in disbelief.
There have been a lot of near misses at this intersection, and so the fact that somebody lost their life has really, people have felt it really deeply. Sorry.
Enough is enough. It has to stop.
Neighbors launching a petition pushing for a traffic safety review.
We are asking for some more up-to-date traffic studies and safety studies for this area so that we can figure out what to do in order to slow and calm, motorized traffic in the area and make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists.
Guelph Police offering this advice.
If you're a pedestrian, make eye contact with drivers and vice versa, so everyone is aware of where all other road users are.
The community coming together in grief to support each other and the victim's family.
Nothing we say or do will ever be enough, but we will do our best to love and support you during this time.
Police say no charges have been laid at this point and the investigation is still ongoing. They're urging anyone who may have witnessed the crash or have dash cam or surveillance footage to come forward.
We were able to really
get down to where we believe we need help to, get these encampments gone.
Premier Doug Ford staying true to his word, visiting Barrie over the weekend to see encampments firsthand in the state of emergency declared by Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall.
These are places where people used to walk their kids in parks, and it doesn't matter where you are in Ontario. Why does less than 1% of the people take over a park for 99% of the population that uses it? It's unacceptable. We're going to move them on. We're going to get them proper housing and shelter.
Pictures and videos obtained by CTV News shows the Premier along with local MPPs as they toured an encampment site near Milligan's Pond outside of the city's downtown core.
I'm tired of these encampments taking over communities. People are terrified to walk down the street because they get harassed for money for drugs. And up in Barrie, E. coli, they're by a creek, they're feces and go in the washroom, and the E. coli is going through the roof. And this is the water people drink.
Mayor Nuttall saying they spoke with a resident and were able to provide immediate support.
One lady that I was able to speak to, and the Premier was able to speak to, kind of saying, there's so much in terms of drugs in there that talking to us, she could be beat up or worse.
With the mayor hopeful the tour sparks more efforts in removing encampments and providing necessary supports and shelter space to those who need it.
How is the support provided in a way that, it doesn't become a waterfall of funds? So, I think what today gave me hope for was that, we're not in this alone. And quite frankly, I already knew that.
Ford saying there is a zero tolerance for encampments.
I'm not going to tolerate them hijacking a neighborhood, and it's neighborhood by neighborhood. Until you live across from one of these encampments, no one has a clue how they affect the neighborhood. You can't even walk down the street without being harassed.
Mayor Nuttall put the Premier on notice with a letter served to Ottawa Thursday.
I want the Prime Minister to put his boots on the ground here as well, so that he can witness and see how difficult, how dangerous, how unsafe these encampments are. And that's why we need some pretty serious changes to laws to allow us to help these individuals.
CTV News has reached out to the federal government to see what additional resources they can provide. Those requests remain unanswered. Reporting live outside Barrie City Hall, I'm Luke Samard. Sarah, we'll send it back inside to you.
Okay, thanks for that, Luke.
Fast-paced and frenzied, that's how Crown attorneys in Manitoba describe bail court. They say they're overburdened with paperwork and they're calling for more time to prepare.
One of the main problems is that when you step in the door to court that morning, you have no idea what it is that's going to be proceeding that day.
The union representing Crown attorneys is asking the province to make rule changes so that prosecutors are given 24 hours notice before contested bail hearings go before a judge. In those hearings, prosecutors argue why an accused person should remain behind bars, while defense lawyers lay out plans for release. Crown attorney Ben Wickstrom says he and his colleagues spend a lot of time reviewing cases that never actually make it before a judge, or they're handed cases after bail court has already started for the day.
So the challenge for us is just being prepared basically for everything that's in the bail triage court at all times, which is sort of not the best way for our attention to be focused.
The union says more notice would allow them to focus on a smaller number of hearings and give them adequate time to prepare submissions.
There are many, many, many things that we need to check and ensure before we propose anything to the court, whether we are opposed or whether this bail plan is sufficient to protect the public.
The union is also asking for more help managing the workload. That includes calling on the province to assign more Crown attorneys to bail court. In a statement, Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says our government is committed to strengthening bail, which is why we introduced a 5-point bail system endorsed by the National Police Federation. I appreciate the union for sharing their recommendations on ways to improve the functioning of bail court. The union is also asking the City of Winnipeg to allocate police resources to assist in vetting bail plans.
This is about better plans being brought forward that will actually do what is intended and keep the accused out of trouble.
In an email, Mayor Scott Gillingham tells CTV News decisions about allocating police resources rest with the Chief of Police and the Winnipeg Police Board, but he's open to conversations about how the city can better support Crown attorneys so bail plans are strong and effective.
Any word from defense lawyers on this proposal, Daniel?
Yes, Mayor Lee, the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association of Manitoba says any changes to bail court procedures are unnecessary and undesirable, and say under existing legislation, bail hearings for accused people must happen at the earliest opportunity.
All right, thanks for this, Daniel.
The Edmonton Police Commission is pleased to announce that we've hired Warren Dreichel as the 24th Chief of the Edmonton Police Service.
After several months of searching, the Edmonton Police Commission has named the city's new top cop. Warren Dreichel is the new Chief of Police.
It's an incredible and daunting privilege to serve as the Chief of the Edmonton Police Service. I am excited for the path ahead and mindful of the expectations that come hand in hand with this role.
The Edmonton Police Commission has been looking for a new chief since February when Dale McPhee stepped down. At that time, Dreichel was made one of 2 interim chiefs alongside Devin LaForce. The commission says it looked at candidates from all over before making the decision.
We sat there and did the interview. I just kept on hearing everything that he was articulating, lining up with what what the community had asked for in their next chief.
Dreichel's 3 decades as an Edmonton police officer do not come without controversy. Earlier this month, he oversaw EPS sending a letter to Crown prosecutors saying it would release details of a case to the public if the court went ahead with a plea deal, giving the accused a manslaughter charge. Dreichel was also involved in an EPS steroid scandal where he bought steroids from another officer.
I know it will follow me, and I know it's always going to be there, right? And I'm just hoping that eventually I can move past it and it just doesn't define me, who I am.
Dreichel says his priorities are accountability for leaders in the organization, creating a new crime management plan, and changing the system so officers can be more proactive. Evan Kenny, CTV News, Edmonton.
The Pregnancy and Infant Loss Support Centre has officially opened its doors at a 3,000-square-foot facility in southwest Calgary. Since it began in 2019, it remains Canada's only nonprofit charity dedicated to a spectrum of complex and often devastating reproductive challenges. Its founder says there's a large gap in mental health support available. That sends a message to the folks that are navigating this that it doesn't matter, that, oh, you can just get pregnant again. It's not a big deal. We brush it under the rug. And that's simply not the case. Anyone navigating infertility, pregnancy loss, birth trauma, or infant loss can access counseling or support groups at no cost. These events are tragically common. Early pregnancy loss occurs 15% of the time. After miscarriage, adverse mental health outcomes occur in 30% of women. Mental health screening is now recommended.
Complications happen way more than people know, and terrible things happen way more than people know, and we need to have both the physical and the medical side, but we also need to have that support side.
Yet the government of Alberta will discontinue funding next spring. It sent a final payment of $240,000 in February, a 25% hit to the centre's annual budget. In a statement, the Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction says when government-funded mental health and addictions programs offer the same or similar services or do not align with our core services, we need to make hard decisions. It commends the centre, but will not be extending their grant beyond the current term.
We don't have enough services within Alberta Health Services to give the support for these families.
And without support and without community care like our organization, we are going to see severe mental health implications from that. In the first half of this year, the centre has seen double the number of clients than in all of 2024. Stephanie Thomas, CTV News, Calgary.